Hi everyone. Sitting in my car. On my way home, just had a walk with my dog, and was just reflecting on that. It's just been the equinox, March 2023, and it's a time of change. Equinox, and there's all sorts of things happening with the planets and astrologically and energetically on the planet right now. And there's a lot of people stepping up into higher levels of self-love and awareness. There's all sorts of awakenings, people suddenly awakening and becoming aware of who they really are, or what they really want, how they want to show up in life. And there's also a lot of people dropping. So we've got our working mind, the practical part that thinks about, okay, I need to do this and that, and how do I start my car and drive. Or we have the psychological part that tells stories about the past and the future, and about us and who we are and our identity, what it means to, what everything means in life. That part gives meaning, and it derives a sense of identity. And that part is called the psychological self. And it's a beautiful part of ourselves. Some people call it the ego, and some people, there's all different names and descriptions for it. And we develop it when we're very little, when we're about 2 or 3, and everybody says, "You're Johnny, and this is what you do," or "You're Dominique," in my case. This is who you are, and this is what you're meant to be doing and not doing. And so the psychological self then thinks, okay, this is who I am, and it constructs this idea, this story about ourselves, and this is, and then we create these patterns about, oh, this is acceptable and that's not acceptable in life, and this is what people expect, and we create this sort of personality around ourselves. And it's just the way in our society and in life at the moment how we have developed as humans. But what it does is it creates this separation between us and the world. We see the world through this filter of ideas and expectations about life and about ourselves and about others. And so instead of, let's say, I see a tree, instead of just being present and feeling my energy and then feeling the tree's energy and feeling how that can overlap, and just the beauty, and just being present and experiencing everything directly without thought, just like, this feeling. Instead of that, thoughts come up and go like, oh, that's a beautiful tree, that's amazing, and but we don't realize that those thoughts are not the actual experience. So when I was talking about the change before, what's happening at the moment, a lot of people are dropping that psychological self. For a lot of people, just falls away, and suddenly there's just like, this direct experiencing, and then they also experience themselves direct, and it's like, then you're like, it's just you. It's just, I know, it's really hard to explain when you've never experienced it. When you've, so for me, that hasn't dropped away, but I have had moments, and I think there's a lot of people that have had moments of experiencing that oneness moments, you could call them. And actually, for everyone, we experience this quite regularly, but we're just not aware of it. We experience it in moments where suddenly we see something so beautiful that our mind just stops. Sometimes in shock when our mind stops. Sometimes in I don't know, just moments where we're just, for a moment, it just drops away, and we're just sitting, and but very often we're not aware of it, and then the mind comes in again, and we just continue on because that's what we're used to, and continue on with that narrative and that filter. And that's the way it is, and it's all good. And then some of us realize that, and we start feeling it as sort of like a discomfort and anguish in ourselves, that something doesn't feel quite right. There's this slight separation between us and ourselves and us and the world. And that separation can start feeling like almost like an anguish, like it's just so uncomfortable, and it can create suffering. And so for the people that that has become a suffering for, they very often become seekers. A lot of people seek in the worldly life, like success and accomplishment, acknowledgement, and love from others, comfort in food, and those beautiful things we enjoy in life. And then it stays unaware. Some people become spiritual seekers, and they start looking for enlightenment as a way of, or if not enlightenment, then at least relief, momentary relief in oneness experiences, or in hope when they find a spiritual teaching, that they can find some liberation from that. Some people, and I'm included in that category as well, the mind can be so strong, the momentum of the mind, that sometimes you just want it to stop, There's times where that might be easier than other times. And our mind can create a lot of suffering because we don't necessarily have control over it. Sometimes the mind creates beautiful thoughts and positive supporting, and sometimes it can be harsh, and it can be judgmental, and it can be cruel, and it can be ongoing. Sometimes we have pauses, and we can, because it takes a lot of energy. And every time we have a thought, our emotions respond to it. And so you're constantly thinking emotion. It's tiring for the body, which is why we need all the comforting and nurturing foods to sustain us. So there's a movement on our planet at the moment, in this world. Sounds a little bit less sort of out there. There's a movement at the moment happening where more and more people are realizing that layer creates a level of inauthenticity that we don't want anymore. So there's more and more people wanting to just be in their hearts and come from love, and to be more authentic and to be more peaceful. And there's a lot of beautiful spiritual teachers that guide towards that. Eckhart Tolle is amazing. I started a lot of my journey listening to him. He talks about recognizing psychological self and a thinking mind, and how to connect to yourself, how to connect to who is it that I am without this thinking, without this idea of myself in the world. Who am I if I'm not that? And how to feel into dropping away from that. How to feel into feeling the energy in the body, and feeling the energy of the heart, and recognizing what love feels like. We all long for love. We're born into this world connected to ourselves and to love and to the earth's energy and life force energy and to our bodies. And then, because everyone around us hasn't stepped into that level of love yet, I can safely say that, because most people are just not. So the chances that me and my family, you and your family, wouldn't have been surrounded by complete unconditional love is just very big. Most of us haven't. And then they reflect back, people around when we were younger reflect back conditional love. And when we come with ourselves, and it's not always like welcomed, it's like, oh, I don't know about that. And we go like, really? Oh, I have to be less of myself, or I have to show up like this or like that, and we change. And that's where that narrative, the storytelling, becomes like a protection and a mechanism. And so being able to step back, learning again how to feel ourselves as original, the way we were when we were little, just as beautiful expressions of life, and that we're beautiful and we're unique and we're accepted, we're acceptable, we're lovable the way we are, and that when we are in our natural state, we tend not to be cruel, we tend not to hurt others, that usually comes from a point of not feeling comfortable in ourselves and feeling in a place of anguish or suffering somewhere, or disconnection. And then that disconnection gets reflected out, and we end up being insensitive and disconnecting towards others. And when you step into more self-love and self-healing, you automatically start treating others with a lot more love too. So it's a beautiful journey, but and that's again coming back to what's happening in the world. It's happening for a lot of people, and that's amazing. That means that we're creating a more loving world, and that makes me very excited. And so Eckhart Tolle is amazing. Mooji is amazing. I don't know if you've heard of Mooji. He has beautiful ways of meditations connecting more into being able to witness yourself and life from a very neutral witnessing, compassionate witnessing standpoint, and then to realize that everything comes from spaciousness. Everything you see around us, in ourselves, arises within consciousness. That's beautiful too. So Mooji is really beautiful. I'm wanting to share some resources as well, I notice, of things that have inspired me and might inspire you to discover yourself in a different way. Step more into consciousness and witnessing and self-love. Gangaji is beautiful as well. Gangaji. She is a spiritual master that really also connects people to the heart and to really accepting, saying yes to yourself the way you are, which is, imagine everybody in this world said yes to ourselves. And when you speak to someone, you see them, you say yes to that person, and you're like, oh my God, I'm accepted. That's so amazing. So, So that change, it's a period of change. Just remembering what I was talking about at the beginning of the video, it's a period of change for the world. A period of awakening into consciousness and into our hearts. And, very, very happy and excited to be here at this point in time where so many more people are stepping into that. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope you're able to step more into your own heart and into your own self and say yes to yourself and step into consciousness and awareness, and maybe hopefully become aware that you do have this filter, this identity, and to see when it drops away, and to hopefully nurture moments that you can really connect into just being, and to not be impatient with yourself, and to accept when you're not, when you're completely in your mind and you can see it. Bring softness to that, bring compassion. Nobody wants to feel disconnected and lost to themselves and all armored up. We don't want that, but that's how we've survived. And we need to honor that. We need to really honor ourselves and be soft and kind. And it's a journey. It's a healing journey, and it's a journey of awakening. Some people, it just happens. And then when they do awaken, they go like, oh my God, what I thought was me was never really there. That construct of identity, it's a functioning of the brain, really. And when that falls away and there's just direct experience, you go like, oh my gosh, there was so much storytelling, but really there's just this now. And that's such a liberation, which is why they call it liberation. Anyway, I won't keep going on because I see that I've already very easily filled 13 minutes. And thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing and being with me while I'm contemplating the change in the world right now. Very helpful for all of us, that we can experience a softer world and softer life and softer selves. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye.